everybody, and welcome back for another episode. So most of my video game stuff is pretty much packed up right now. The big move is next week. I've got a new job. I've got a new house to move into. So for now, we're kind of just doing little bit fun videos and showing off our collections, our hobbies, and games and movies and all that. And hopefully soon we can get back to actual video gaming and have some fun with that. So today's order of business. Last week I showed off a couple of my brand new collectible statues. Bebop and Rocksteady. I love these things so much. I love the artwork, the colors, the statue design is just... everything's great. I love this. This is a nerd's dream come true. Having Bebop and Rocksteady, I feel like I've completed myself. And yet, it feels like there's something missing. I mean, there were two other villains in the show. I bought these two at a GameStop. And when I went back, they were sold out of the other two villains. So I had to do a bit of online shopping, and wouldn't you know it, the prices were gouged. Most of the other ones were going for like $130, $160, $150. Everywhere in that range. I even saw some for like $700 for a set of the four. I mean, come on. So, without getting into all that and getting mad at scalpers and all that jazz, I'm going to try to veer away from that. I did a little bit of shopping, and I found something. So, I got Krang. Now, everybody knows Krang isn't the lead villain, but we'll get to that later. Let's open this bad boy up, shall we? Okay. Oh. Huh. Come on, you. It was stuck in there. Okay, yep. Alright, let's see if we can figure this out. Yeah, 1 foot there, 1 foot there. Come on, go in the hole. Go in the hole. There we go. Look at the size of this thing. That easily comes up from, like, my midsection to my chin. Pretty close. Alright, so we got Krang here. Let's look at this bad boy up close here, shall we? Look at those hands. Those hands are so cool. I always loved his big red glove hands. Okay, so, for everybody not so familiar with the Turtles show, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles had two lead villains, the Shredder and Krang, along with Bebop and Rocksteady, as we are familiar with in my last video. So, Shredder partnered with Krang. We're not sure how they met. I mean, maybe it's in the comics, maybe it's mentioned in an episode. I cannot, for the life of me, remember very well. As it turns out, when the Turtles meet Shredder, he's moving around in a giant mobile base. To put it shortly, it's a giant battle tank base with a giant eyeball on top of it. And it's called the Technodrome. The Technodrome was designed by Krang, this little pink alien-looking creature sitting in the cockpit there. And when we first meet Krang, he doesn't have any of this. He has no body. And he's very disgruntled, and he's very upset with Shredder. He wants him, and he follows him around all throughout Season 1, begging and screeching at him, telling him, when are you going to build me my body? And he's got these blueprints. He's like, if you just build me this, we can take over the world, and it would be fine. So, a little backstory on Krang. Krang is a former warlord from another dimension, particularly called Dimension X. Krang was eventually banished by his peers, more fellows of his races. I believe they're called Utroms or something like that. They're these rather large reptile creatures, kind of like dinosaurs in a way. So Krang was banished from Dimension X to Earth without his original reptilian body, and without all of his he has an army full of rock soldiers, big rock walking stone men, and somehow he lost all of it. He lost all of it. He was sent to Earth with virtually nothing, and somehow I'm guessing the Technodrome came with him. Maybe they powered it down from him. I don't know. Either way, when we're introduced to Krang, he's in the Technodrome. He's with the Shredder. He's upset because he doesn't have a body, and he wants Shredder to build him this. Well, as it turns out, the body is constructed in later episodes, but it's not like finished. So when Shredder realizes that with Bebop and Rocksteady alone isn't going to be enough to beat the Turtles, he reluctantly gives in to Krang, and he helps him get into this nice, giant, mechanical, suited body. Now, I'm not sure what the actual height is on Krang's body in as far as dimensions go in the show. He towers over everybody. He's at least a good 7-8 feet tall. His hands here are interchangeable. A lot of times they'll pop off and he'll pull out a variety of weapons, knives, guns, swords. I think I've seen him in one episode use like a little mace chain ball. And I think there was another episode where he had like a pair of giant scissors or shears on the end. Krang was pretty cool. He was a little intimidating, but the problem, even with his large, bulky body, is that he was very awkward because as you can see, like right here, he's trying to hold the controls with his tentacle hands there. And you could see when he was moving it around, his arms were always stiff, like he was a Frankenstein. He has the intellectual IQ of a genius. He's super smart. He's super clever. Unfortunately, he's, for better or worse, the Turtles are bad luck for him. He doesn't necessarily hate the Turtles per se. He recognizes them as an object. And there are times where he even screams, "I really hate those turtles." But a lot of the times, he's always trying to pull Shredder away from his obsession and his feud and his rivalry with Splinter and the Ninja Turtles. Because Krang is more of like a broader, like bigger outlook, big picture kind of guy. He will get into all these schemes and try to find all these ways to power up his Technodrome and get his army back and rebuild. And it's usually Shredder's arrogance and his obsession with the Turtles that always gets in the way of their plan succeeding. Krang is no loyal partner either to the Shredder. In fact, there are a few episodes where he outright sabotages the Shredder's plans. Or vice versa. Even the Shredder would sabotage Krang's plans because either one, Shredder didn't want him to succeed for any particular reason, or Shredder's obsession with the Turtles had to come first and he wasn't going to always listen to Krang, and it worked the other way around. Krang was always like, I'm so tired of this, I'm going to do it my way. And when you got two leaders that are kind of not on the same page, things don't always go according to plan. Krang was the big arms supplier for the Shredder and his minions and his mutants. I think there was a few times where he played around with Mutagen, the mutagen that pretty much spawned the Turtles and Rocksteady and Bebop. But I think primarily, I remember Krang did not have a lot of love for other mutants, even the ones that were working for them or with them. I remember there were some episodes where I don't remember if he indirectly caused mutations. I know he indirectly caused Baxter Stockman to become mutated into a fly-like creature. And I remember even when before Baxter was a fly, I remember he was sent to Dimension X into the Technodrome to work with Krang, and Krang immediately had him thrown into a garbage disposal because even though they were both scientists, Krang felt that he was superior to Baxter in every way, and more than likely he probably was. Look at the size. This thing is huge. I guess it's not that huge when you compare it to Rocksteady and Bebop, but this was pretty much like the actual dimensions in the show. Krang towered over these guys, and he wasn't afraid to, grab them by the shoulders and throw them around once in a while. He's also got, like, the Technodrome floor plates on his foot model. I like that. Up here, I've never really understood what that is. I think it's some sort of broadcasting antenna or a receiver. I don't know. Krang's never really explained what that is. I always loved his big, the big head glasses here. Sometimes this face would make expressions when Krang was kind of going through expressions, so you kind of had to wonder, were they like linked up like neurologically? On the back, he's got this little vent here. So let's talk abilities. During the show, Krang was able to do the whole hand thing, interchanging all of his weapons. But he was also able to extend from his backside here a pair of jetpack wings. And he would be able to fly around and soar through the skies and stuff. I remember, I think it's in the first episode where he gets this body. He actually had some sort of crystal inside this thing, in the shoulder or something. And it allowed him to actually increase the size of this body to skyscraper size. He'd be like a Godzilla or King Kong just walking through the town and trying to cause all kinds of damage. And I think there was one episode where the body actually took on its own mind briefly for a day and kind of ran off, and poor Krang was stranded without it. I think he was trying to give it like an oil change or something. It was in the later seasons when they were making more corny jokes, but the first 2-3 seasons of the Turtles were fantastic because they had this much darker animation and it was much more grittier. So the villains were more evil per se, and they were more intense and relatable and focused on their goals and objectives. Whereas in the later seasons, they had more or less failed so many times that they made jokes more often and things became a little bit more corny. Not to say that the show suffered overall, but I could say I definitely prefer the earlier seasons. Krang was a fun villain, and it was always a pleasure to see him and the Shredder bantering back and forth and getting into it. Well, I think that's going to conclude today's video. I'm so glad I got this. Again, it was like same as these other two. Get in here, boys. Same as these other two. I was able to scoop this thing up for $50, and I think with shipping and handling, it was around $60. But again, I pace myself when I buy these. I don't buy them all outright. I actually picked this up on a website called BigBadToys.com. I'll put the link in the video description, and you can all go shop for it yourself if you want them, while supplies last, of course. Again, don't buy from scalpers. There's no need to pay over $150 just to get this one thing. No, it's not necessary. That's 3. I wonder if I could get the 4th. Come back next week and we'll see. We'll find out. Okay, everybody. Thank you for coming along. Thank you for indulging me in my little hobby here. And we will see you next week. Take care and have a good one.